Right now, we're the largest producer of fusion energy in the world. The energy of the sun, trapped in rock, harvested by machine from the far side of the moon. Today, we deliver enough clean-burning helium-3 to supply the energy needs of nearly 70% of the planet. Who'd have thought? All the energy we ever needed, right above our heads. The power of the moon. The power of our future.
Hello and welcome. Welcome and hello. This is Wait, You Haven't Seen? It's a show where we talk about movies, and specifically, we talk about a movie at least one of us has never seen before. I am your host, Travis, aka TV's Travis. This is episode number 377, and our film this week from 2009 is Moon, starring Sam Rockwell, and here to talk with me about it, it is Romina, or Redromina. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. I'm so excited to be here.
Excellent. No, thank you for being here. So you suggested this movie. We were talking back and forth about ideas, and you brought this one up, and I had not seen it. So what is your history with Moon? When did you first see it? Or was this your first time?
You know, that's actually I don't know when was the first time that I saw this movie. I I think that it might have been when it came out.
Okay.
Um I love Sam Rockwell.
Yes.
So like I have been following Sam Rockwell since Galaxy Quest.
Okay.
I first saw him in Galaxy Quest and I just absolutely like fell in love with his demeanor. Um and so any opportunity that I get to watch his movies, like it's an instant sell. Like I'm like day one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I see Sam Rockwell, like whatever the movie's about, I'm just like I'm there. Um I'm pretty sure that I saw this movie when it came out. Um that being said, I have seen it maybe like 4 times,
Okay.
including this time since then, like 4 or 5 times. Let's calculate a handful of times um, since it came out.
Okay.
So that's my history with it.
Excellent.
It's not even like to be honest. So what happened here was that you asked me to like think about a movie. And then I was like, man, I don't know. Like, you know, like when somebody asked me that, I'm like, man, like my the Rolodex just like
Mhm.
goes, and I'm like, dang. Um, and for whatever reason, this is like the one that like I gave you. What was it? I said Moon, Galaxy Quest,
And
and
Spirited Away was the other one.
Spirited
Yep.
Away. So it was just like I was like, okay, I just got to think like, what are some random movies? We got to just start
Yeah.
like brainstorming here. And for whatever reason, like I thought about Moon. It wasn't like for any particular, it's not even like one of my top favorite movies or anything like that. It was just like something that I thought about.
Which, I mean, tells me a lot about the movie in general before even seeing it, if it's something that comes top of mind. And I'm with you. I am a Sam Rockwell fan. He just, anytime I see him in a movie, it makes the movie better. It doesn't matter what the movie is, it's better. So I actually go back even a little bit further than Galaxy Quest with him. And it's funny because I remember him from the first live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. He has a
oh my God,
very
you're
small
so
role
right.
there.
Yes.
And
yes.
I remember it's such a small part of the movie, but it's such a memorable moment where he says, you know, well, what do you want, regular or menthol? And he holds up the 2 cartons of cigarettes. And it was like burned into my brain because I saw that movie countless times as a kid. And so then when he popped up again later on in Galaxy Quest and in The Green Mile and a couple of those other movies right in that era, I was just all about it. I'm like, wait a minute, I did the whole thing. Like I knew that guy from something. And that's when I found out who Sam Rockwell was. And then it was just his version of Zaphod Beeblebrox in The Hitchhiker's Guide.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't love that movie. I do, and a lot of it is because of him, Martin Freeman, and Mos Def. Like those 3 in the movie are so much fun because they're really embodying those characters in a way that I enjoyed. So, you know, between Galaxy Quest and Hitchhiker's Guide, I was just like, I'll follow Sam Rockwell into hell. Like I don't care. I'll watch him in anything. um, I didn't see this simply because it wasn't that wide or that big of a release at the time. I remember hearing about it, and I wasn't getting out to enough movies at the time that this one came out, and it didn't have like a super wide release. I don't think it lasted very long in the theater here. And then it just sort of got out of sight, out of mind. And then I would hear it. I would hear about it all the time. It would pop up on like these, best sci-fi lists or the best sci-fi movie you've never seen type of lists. And I would always be like, man, I need to see that, and then forget about it. It would just ADHD right out of my brain, and I would forget about it until someone brought it up again. So to get a chance to finally like have a reason to sit down and watch this, I was like, all right, let's strap in, let's see what we got. And I got to say, straight off the bat, I loved this movie a lot. And Sam Rockwell, normally I'll talk about cast and how good a cast is in a movie. And in this case, it is because it's Sam Rockwell. Like the whole thing hinges on him, and he's phenomenal. Especially playing dual parts like he does. Now, did you see Mickey 17 that came out earlier this year?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
So having seen that one already, I started getting a lot of I feel like Moon helped influence Mickey 17 in some ways. They're not the same movie, but they have some similar DNA to them.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of crossover. I think that it would be it would be irresponsible to ignore Mickey 17 in this conversation, especially because of the fact that like this came out 2009. So it was very ahead of its time.
Very.
And I think what makes this so interesting to me is the fact that it was low budget.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And very low budget at that.
Very low budget.
What was it?
Especially for the kind of movie that it is, right? So to make a science fiction film, it was it 5 million.
That's nothing.
And I think it doubled its earnings in the box office, which is all right, but it's not like we're not talking like Obsession levels here,
right?
So it's not like it blew it out of the water or anything. But I think part of it is due to the fact that it just didn't really have any marketing. I think that a lot of people didn't know that it was happening at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really interesting because something that we haven't discussed yet is the fact that this is directed. This is the debut, the directorial debut of Duncan Jones.
Yeah.
Who is David Bowie's son, which is irrelevant, but in some ways it's a little bit like, I think, just a little bit coming like it kind of fits the vibe a little bit.
It does.
Like if you're gonna say like David Bowie's son made a movie, it might be this one.
It feels like this feels like a movie directed by David Bowie's son. Like if you just told somebody that, to be like, yeah, that tracks. That makes sense. Yeah, I knew Duncan Jones had directed this, but for it to be, for some reason I didn't realize it was his debut. And I mean,
yeah, this was his first film.
Talk about coming out of the gate swinging.
Right. So this was, and it was also like, I think, yeah, Sam Rockwell had done a number of things, but I think this was really like Sam Rockwell's like starring role, where he was he's the only character in the movie.
Basically,
but, yeah. Pretty much. But I think like having the most focus, right, out of his movies beforehand, because he got bigger roles after Moon.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this definitely helped to serve as like a catalyst for him being like more leading material.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I think like what makes it interesting to me is the fact that this was a directorial debut, and this was also low budget, and it was science fiction. So it's just all around a very ambitious project.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, they used a lot of models in the making of the film.
Yeah.
So like the space station and the vehicles in the film, like they're all like models. And so they limited the amount of digital effects that they used in the film, which I think contributes to the overall look and the vibe, like the aesthetic of the film.
Oh, absolutely.
It's one of my favorite things about this movie is the fact that, so the first time that I watched it wasn't really something that I noticed, but then the second time that I watched it, I do remember very clearly. Uh, every time that I've watched this movie has been to show it to somebody else. And so like I know what happens in the movie, but they've got no idea what they're in for,
Yeah.
right? And so when I watched it the second time, I already knew what was happening. And when I realized, wow, the production design is so good for this movie, for
Yes.
like the level of like the budget of this film, because from the get-go, everything looks lived in.
Yes.
Everything is dirty, it's used. Nothing is quite like polished. It feels very much like Alien, right? Like Ridley Scott
Yeah.
Alien. So it feels very lived in. It's gritty. And so knowing what you know, right? It's like I think I'm trying to say this without like giving too many spoilers, you know, because I'm sure there's somebody who's in the audience who has not.
There is, but we're coming.
I don't know what the rules are.
We're coming up on a little more than 10 minutes into the episode, so the spoiler ban is about to get lifted. I will warn people, if you're listening to this, you haven't seen the movie and you don't want it to be spoiled, pause here, go watch it. It's on Hulu. Come back. Because we're going to spoil it, because there's no way to talk about this without spoiling some stuff that hit me like a ton of bricks.
This is literally, I mean, it's like a 90-minute movie, guys.
Yeah, it's not a long movie at all. It's wonderfully, for a directorial debut, too, it's so wonderfully paced. It keeps you engaged the whole time. For a small scale story, almost, a micro cast, this little budget sci-fi thing, it feels like the best version of, I took a sci-fi short story, like a pulp story, and made a movie out of it, right?
That's a perfect description of it. It feels like what would happen in the in-between of like a short becoming a blockbuster movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
Like if they ever made an in-between, like this is what it would be. It's like the launching pad to get to that point. But what I was saying before is like the fact that it's like it feels lived in, right? And that you already know that he starts off by saying that he's been there for 3 years.
Yeah.
But we all know that the space station is older than 3 years.
Yes. Yeah.
And so the fact that they like incorporated that aspect of the story into the production design without you really realizing it until like you know what's going on.
Yeah, it's great filmmaking. It's understanding how to use film as a medium to tell a story where you don't have to have dialogue to explain everything. You can do so much in the visuals of it that, because I was thinking about this, there were things subconsciously that later on in the film suddenly jumped out at me like, oh, that led me to this conclusion. One of those was his alarm clock. Because the song that played on his alarm clock, I actually wrote down a note. I'm like, I wonder if this is a real, like I didn't recognize the song right away, but I was like, is this an actual song or is this something that they put in the movie? Because I heard that lyric, I'm the one and only. And I was like, that's a weird song to wake up to. And then later in the movie, I'm like, wow, that's clever. That's very clever. You said something earlier. I just want to touch on this before I forget about it. This is a movie you've watched multiple times, and every time after that first, it's been to show somebody the movie. And I feel like this is a perfect version of that. You need to watch this movie, right? Like there's that list of movies that are like that. It's this. Another one that instantly comes to mind is The Usual Suspects, is a movie where it's like, you like film and you like interesting stories, you got to watch this one. And after you've seen it, you evangelize that movie to other people. And Moon is that in sci-fi form. So
absolutely. it's interesting because I didn't actually realize that until so Travis is funny because so we decided this like a week
Mhm.
ago that moon it was going to be moon. So I told my husband about it like a couple times, and I was like, I think maybe you'd like moon. And then for whatever reason, like it left my mind, and then like we did this thing, and I told you, and I was like, I was like, hey, so I actually have to do like the podcast, and I got to watch Moon. Like, let me know if you want to watch it with
Yeah.
me. Otherwise, like, I got to watch it, And then, so we're part of a movie club.
Okay.
So we're like, it's a neighborhood. Like, we watch movies like at a cafe, like after hours and stuff like
Oh,
that.
that's
Like we
awesome.
do things like that. And then sometimes like the head of the founder of the club, he calls his pad the Bat Cave.
Mhm.
And so we have Bat Cave screenings.
Nice.
Um and so and so like originally we were going to watch some other movie. I forgot what it was, but he had originally like stipulated to watch some other film like a few days ago. And I was like, "Listen, I got to watch this movie anyway. Does anybody want to watch this with me? Cuz like I'm going to watch it
Sure.
anyway, right?" And so it turned into a Batcave screening.
Nice.
So we had uh only the founder, Batcave owner, and myself had seen this film.
Okay.
Nobody else had seen it,
Oh,
right?
very
So
fun.
including my husband and everybody else who was there. So it was like a group of, I don't know, 6 people, right? And so we're all watching this, and the majority have never seen it before. And so I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Ever since I've seen this movie, I've always done it I've always rewatched it to share it with other people. Like, I think the last time that I watched it before this was like to show my ex. Like,
That
so it's just like one of those things where you're absolutely right. Like, there's just some movies where you want people to experience it
yes.
the way that you experienced it
And it's
for whatever reason.
yeah, and it's so much fun to be in the presence of someone experiencing that for the first time and then talking to them about it afterwards. Like it's one of the things I love about doing this particular show is I get both sides of that because I get to be on this side of it for a movie like Moon, but then I had a good friend of mine. I showed him The Usual Suspects and talking to him and just being him having no clue what was going to happen in that movie and for his mind to just be completely blown away at the end of it. It was so much fun. And this is that kind of movie, but on such a different way, right? Like, but what it does, there's a great quote I heard years and years ago, and I've said this a few times on the show, that a movie with a twist like that, it's like going to see a play in a theater, and then you go back and you see another performance of the same play with the same cast, but you sit in a different part of the theater, and it's a different experience because you're seeing things you didn't see before. And I think in a movie like this, on a second watch, you're going to pick up on those things like that you subconsciously were seeing the first time around, such as the lived-in nature. Because the station itself has this, I think Alien is perfect because that first Alien movie was very like everything was white inside the ship, especially in the medical bay and in the mother chamber. But it was also grimy.
Mm.
And I kept thinking about like 2001: A Space Odyssey, but with a level of grit and grime painted onto it, like weathering had been done to this movie, and I loved that about it. But I feel like on a rewatch, I'm going to be paying even more attention to that kind of stuff, or to everything to do with Gertie, which was
Yeah.
Gertie is like the only other actual character. You have two different. Okay, so here comes the spoiler. Sam, our main character, Sam Rockwell. Sam Bell, I think, in the movie.
Hmm.
There's two of him. There's a clone. Another one shows up because of something that happens. And you have those two characters, and then Gertie is the robot that's with him on the station. Voiced by Kevin Spacey, which immediately had me thinking, and the way he was doing the voice felt very HAL 9000. And so my sci-fi fan brain is like, all right, we're just counting down the minutes until Gertie turns on him, does something bad. I kept waiting for that. And what I loved is this movie subverts that expectation so well
Yeah.
without ever changing the way Gertie acts. but you just get the reveal that like because one of the I captured a few audio clips on this, and one of them was
Helping you is what I do.
and the robot says that, and my initial thought is like, yeah, okay, sure, but until the programming tells you not to.
Yeah, buddy.
Like, yeah, right. But then he does. That was so satisfying when he helps him with the log, and then he helps him later, and he's like willing to have his memory banks erased to help him get off the stage. Like all of that really made me actually care about this robot in a way that I was not expecting to when I started this movie, and even halfway through it.
Yeah, it's one of the few instances where we don't have the evil robot ending.
Yeah.
But you very much do expect it to be like a HAL 9000 2.0, especially because of the way that Kevin delivers his lines, number one, and then number two, because of Kevin's history as a person, and then also the other roles that he's played since then. I feel like there's a lot of history there, that there's a lot that contributes to like watching this back then. Very different. Very different perspective.
Absolutely.
Than watching this today. There's just so much that has happened.
There really is. And like certain actors, I've used this example before. Anthony Hopkins is one. I love Anthony Hopkins. He's been great in so many movies, but because I saw Silence of the Lambs when I did, it's just a constant like
trauma.
Yeah, it's a trauma. And at some point I'm just like, he's going to turn and like eat someone's face. I just wait for it to happen. And, I'm always pleasantly surprised when it doesn't, but it's just, that's the trauma response because of seeing that movie, probably too young, but either way. Kevin Spacey is sort of almost a real life version of that, because now with everything that has happened, I am set up for him to make that heel turn. So
right. And there's no reason for him to, because it's a character, but I mean, I'm sure we've all seen Kevin's holiday Christmas cards that he puts out. So
yes.
the line between character and reality is a little blurred.
And it's one of those situations where he's so compelling on screen. It's a very Mel Gibson thing for me, where like Mel Gibson, the person, do not care for whatsoever. Mel Gibson, the actor, damn it, he's compelling on screen. Like I saw Fat Man. Is that probably the last movie I saw that he was in, but I was like, why do I like his character so much in this movie? I shouldn't, and I almost feel bad about it, but like, it's hard.
Yeah, I think you just have to separate like the actor. There's plenty of actors that I don't like that I love on screen, and so I think you just kind of separate. Like I've learned to separate. I don't know who these people are,
right?
And to me, it's just like, all I know is what I see on the screen and in that moment, and whether it works for the character, right? And for the story. And so like you have to learn to separate it. But I think the issue with Kevin is the fact that his voice is so noticeable.
It is. it is. And I also found it fascinating to choose, like, it's such an interesting casting choice to have him be the robot, and then the way he delivered it, because it is so monotone and deadpan and very Hal. And it's just 40 years of watching sci-fi movies with evil robots. I'm prepared for this. And he doesn't do that, but he never changes the way the robot acts. It was really, really smart on his part and Duncan Jones' part to go that route. Because I did read where Duncan had said that he kind of purposefully put tropes in that were recognizable that he then went in different directions with. There was that one, or having the two different versions of Sam. Because I also loved that. First of all, Rockwell's performance, out of this world. But the fact that there's two different versions of him, and they do butt heads at first, but they're never, beyond that, they're not super adversarial. They become more brotherly towards each other. and there's a
Yeah, I feel
tenderness
like
between them.
if this came out today, I feel like there would be a care. I feel like one of the clones would try to kill the other one.
I do, and that was again the parallels with Mickey 17, where like
Right,
it's
right.
this idea of Sam is inherently a good person, but the younger version of him that just woke up is the version that first took off from Earth and went to the moon for this project. There's a great scene in this where I'm calling him Sam 1 and Sam 2. I think I read something where they're like the 5th and 6th clones that have been in here, but I'm calling them 1 and 2. But Sam 1 is getting something out of his bunk, and then he sits down and he's talking to Gertie, and he gives a little backstory of like, my wife, because his whole thing is like getting back home to his wife and child. He's done with his 3-year contract. He's going home, and he tells him like, yeah, my wife left me for like 6 months. She moved out and all of this, and him talking about like he had problems. He was very angry and he had a temper. And I liked where that came in the story, because to that point we had seen the Sam 2 start off very confrontational and angry and soften over time. And that's what happened with this first one. Over his 3 years, 3 years of isolation, he became more contemplative and for lack of a better term, more zen, right? As he worked on his little village and he did his whittling and all that kind of stuff. And just the small things like when he comes back and he finds Sam 2 trying to whittle and work on the thing, and he's holding the X-Acto knife like he's going to stab someone with it, I think is the great line. Like, I loved the arc of these two characters throughout the movie. And at one point I did figure out like, 3-year contract, 3-year lifespan. These clones aren't meant to live longer than that. And I kind of appreciate the movie not over explaining any of that either. It just sort of, you figure it out on your own. This is a movie that respects its audience in a way that a lot of movies don't. And it's something that Bong Joon-ho does really well with Mickey 17 and with a lot of his films, is respect for his audience to understand what's going on without having to lay out everything. You want some explanation, but you don't want too much. And again, for a debut film, Duncan Jones understood how to tell a compelling story in a way and bring your audience along, which makes you care, right? You care about Sam and what he's going through quite a bit. I really, really loved all of that. And just the interplay between Sam and Gertie was great, with the little the screen and the different faces for his emotions, because it did give that robot personality without the voice ever changing. I loved that too.
Right. And the fact that the smiley faces are yes, it gives it emotion, but then at the same time they're very neutral.
Yes. Yeah.
And so when we were watching it in the group, there were often times when somebody would remark like, why is it smiling like that? Why did he say it with a smile?
Right.
Like, stuff like that,
Yeah.
where it's just like, but it's like the most neutral smile. Like there's no like sinister, like it's literally
There's that, and then couple that with Sam's drawings of smiley faces on the wall. We see a couple of different times where he would draw faces over and over, and they would change. Some of them would be frowning, some of them would be neutral. There was a couple that had blank nothing on them. And I kept picking, that's something that I want to like rewatch this and sort of look at those in conjunction with what Gertie's doing and what Gertie is showing. Because I think that there's something interesting there, probably, that I'm not picking up on right away.
Yeah, I definitely see like the audience kind of like projecting their own feelings of like anti-robot.
Oh yeah.
And kind of just like projecting that onto Gertie. Like I definitely was I experienced that when we did the group watch
I bet.
this week. Which also just like kind of bounces back to what you were saying about Gertie and kind of how you were expecting this, like you had already played it out in your head, and it was it went the opposite way.
Yeah, which again was super satisfying and also not so much heartbreaking with Gertie as it was. And I think part of that is because I was so gut punched by what Sam went through.
Mm.
Because early on, we find out, oh, the communication satellite's been knocked out because he's on the moon. They're harvesting, what is it, Helium-3, I think, from the moon and sending it back. And he's manning the station, but the communication satellite's knocked out. So he has asynchronous communication because he's on the dark side, right? Far side of the moon.
Yeah, the far side of the moon.
So he never gets to like have live conversations. Everything is done. He has to send something and then he'll get responses later and all that kind of stuff. But I liked that being brought up early and mentioned. But then later on, he's like, well, let's go out and explore a little bit more. And him and the other Sam go out looking and trying to figure out why they can't make conversations, because the younger Sam stumbled upon a live conversation with Gertie, and the only other two real characters in the movie are the two guys from the company, played by Matt Berry and Benedict Wong, which is just amazing. First of all, I love Benedict Wong and I love Matt Berry, and just these I love little parts like that for actors in movies where if you didn't know it was them, like if I didn't see their names in the opening credits, I'd have to squint and maybe recognize Matt Berry's voice, just because I've seen enough stuff with him. But like they're on a screen, that's it. We never see them in person. So, but I love that. But because the younger Sam too overheard that, which I'm curious, in your screening when you were watching this with everybody, did they pick up quickly that he was a clone?
I think, I don't know about quickly. I think it was like when the reveal happened, like when there suddenly were like two on the screen.
Okay.
Then it was like, oh, so fun story. There was, everybody in the group was pretty happy with the selection of the film. They all had, pretty positive things to say. One of our members was sleeping through a lot of it. And then he woke up in the middle of the movie and he goes, "This movie sucks." He goes, "This is so boring." He's like, "Oh, it's Mickey 17." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, and so everybody turned on him because it was not a good take. But I mean, everybody's got their own opinions, I
Sure.
guess, but even if they're not good ones, but
They can have wrong opinions. It happens.
So yeah, I guess he got it. He was just like, "Oh, what? Like, are they clones? Like, whatever." So I think he was definitely so I think the pacing of Moon is I wouldn't say that it's like slow, but I would describe it as there isn't a lot of dialogue and exposition.
Yes.
So there are a lot of quieter moments, which I think makes it seem like the pacing is slow.
I can see that. Like I would call
And
it deliberate.
yeah, I think I mean, there's like 5 people in the movie.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of talking that's happening. It's more of a, how can I put this? Like a vibe. Like the film is very much like an experience where and I almost feel like it's a little bit like close to how it felt watching Arrival.
Okay, yeah. Yep.
Where there are some parts in Arrival that just kind of like, there's a lot of like quiet moments and thinking moments, and I think I think the idea of it is like it's the feeling of it, right? It's the feeling of like this guy being alone. It's the grittiness. It's like the kind of like uneasiness
Yeah.
of it
It's sort
all,
of,
right? And then watching him like slowly decay throughout the whole movie, like makes you or makes me it made me feel uncomfortable
mhm.
because this guy is basically rotting
Yeah.
because he's like dying throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. I think uneasy is a great way to put it because the film itself, we spend a lot of time with, we don't have a ton of expositional dialogue. A lot of our story and our time is spent visually inside the mind of our character, right? We're there with Sam Bell going through what Sam is going through and kind of feeling it. And it is that vibe. And it's so much of Sam Rockwell playing this 3-year-old version of the character who is like, he's 2 weeks from retirement, right? It's that trope. He's done very soon. He gets to go home, or so he thinks. And then you juxtapose that with the younger version who's fresh and in much better shape, more virile. So there's that interplay. There's a little more kind of anger and stubbornness in the early version, and a more of a contemplative nature in the older version. And there's these like not even discussions, but like explorations of what it means to be yourself. It's sort of it's a sci-fi dramatic version of. Did you ever see a movie from the mid '90s called Multiplicity with Michael Keaton?
No, but I know the movie.
Okay. So in that, Michael Keaton is cloned, and all the different cloned versions of him are vastly different. It's a comedy, but there's a little bit of that in here where you've got these two different versions of the same person, but experience versus.
Wait, yes, I actually did watch that movie.
Yeah.
I just remembered.
That's a very, I think, underappreciated movie. Like it was a lot of fun, and then it's just sort of disappeared, and people don't talk about it enough. But like I got some feelings of that here when the two Sams would interact, and you've got this older version of Sam. He's been alone for 3 years, which I live alone, and I spend a lot of time working from home and sort of on my own. But 3 years of isolation is very different from that. Like he has a robot and that's it. And then videos from his wife, which, as we learn, aren't even like current. But what that could do to a person, I think, is very intriguing and very fun to explore. And we sort of see that here, where we see like this fresh version of Sam is very headstrong. He wants to figure things out. He's like, there's a secret room somewhere here. You know, there's I love the whole scene where he's like, I'm going to tear this place apart and find it. I know it's here. And the older version's like, yeah, sure, whatever, man. It's cool. He's over there being Jeff Bridges, right? He's like, yeah, it's cool, dude. Don't worry about it. And I just love that interplay between the two of them. And then you have the kind of the neutral version, or the neutral character in Gertie between them, where Gertie interestingly cares about Sam in a way that almost doesn't make sense for a robot, because the robot has no emotion, yet he cares about this character, and he just wants to do what's best for Sam, regardless. And that is his programming. And I found that fascinating throughout, because he does genuinely help him, and all of that's going on. Meanwhile, you've got sort of the company looming over it, of like, because you got the younger Sam constantly saying things like, this company doesn't care about us. They can't even fix the communication. They can't fix anything. We're just, and it's true, right? They are these nameless.
They're numbers.
Yeah, they're numbers. Now, what's curious to me, and the thing that I would love to, I think, explore, but I don't think it needs to be necessarily a movie, but I feel like this is a place where tie-in material would be a lot of fun, is kind of getting the story of Sam maybe before this movie, the first Sam, because
why did he sign up?
Yeah, why did he sign up? Did he actually go to the moon, or did they just make clones and send them up there? Because I feel like maybe he did, and came back after 3 years, but maybe he didn't. I don't know. And when Sam 1 gets a chance, he gets outside the jamming signal and can call home. That scene almost broke me. That was such a gut punch of a scene, because throughout the movie, Sam's driving force is to get home to his wife and his daughter. His daughter is what, probably 8 or 9, I think is roughly what I feel like she was, maybe even younger than that. And then he starts hallucinating a random woman played by Kaya Scodelario, who I know from watching the Netflix series The Gentleman recently. She's great in that, but this is her at like 15. But he sees this woman and this hallucination, and I kind of like, because again, you got Gertie being like, "Sam, are you okay? What's going on?" And again, it feels like all of these things that Gertie keeps saying, and I know I'm jumping around a lot, but like Gertie says stuff that on first viewing you take as, I don't know, that's very shady. But now, having finished the movie, I realize, no, those are all genuine from him. Like the Gertie, am I a clone? Are you hungry, Sam? I love that. I love that so much. But like, Sam has spent the whole movie, he just wants to get home. And he finally gets to call. He calls home, and the woman that answers the phone, the young woman, it's who he saw. Because our inciting incident is him hallucinating this woman while he's going out to check on one of the harvesters and then crashing. And that's the one thing that veers off from like sci-fi into more fantasy, is him hallucinating his teenage daughter. But I did like what Duncan Jones had said about it. It was something to do with sort of this, what do they call it? Like twin memories, I think, or genetic memories, where whatever the real Sam is experiencing and remembering, somehow the genetic code knows that. Like, it doesn't totally make sense, and it's a little woo-woo, but at the same time, you can let that happen. Like, but for it to call, and that's suddenly the woman that he sees, answers the phone, would be, first of all, that would mess with my head completely.
Shocking.
But then to learn, like, and this was the gut punch, his wife died years earlier. She'd been dead for a while now. No explanation given, no reason, none of that. And that was already rough. But the thing that killed me was then hearing his voice in the background. When you hear her say, like, "Dad, somebody's asking about Mom." And I'm thinking, okay, Mom got remarried. That's initially what I thought. And then you immediately hear Sam Rockwell's voice. Oh, I had to pause the movie. I was like, okay, all right, movie. You done did it. Like, you hit me right in the guts. That was a tough one, because to hear that voice and for him to realize, like, no, I went home. It's really powerful, which then makes kind of everything else that goes on in the movie just hit that much harder. For him to sort of then tell the younger version of him, like, you go, because the younger version doesn't know this. The other Sam doesn't know this stuff, and so the older one is like, I'm good now. I got no. Basically, I took everything he had that he was going home for away.
Yeah.
And again, it kind of comes back to like that whole idea of what makes you a person. What is self? What are your memories? There's a lot of that pulpy sci-fi short story thing to chew on and think about. This is one of those movies that I'm going to think about a lot after having seen it. You brought up Obsession earlier as like a movie that didn't cost a lot of money but made a lot of money. But that movie did the same thing for me. I've been thinking about it since I saw that movie, all of the themes and things in Obsession. And this is that type of movie. So it both is I got to tell people about this and show them this movie, but also, man, I'm going to be thinking about it for a while.
I'm so glad that you liked it. Like, based off of like the short text that we had sent each other, I was like, maybe he'll like this one. When you said that you hadn't seen it, I was like, yeah, this seems like I think you'll like it. And I'm glad that you did. I was actually a little bit worried after I did the watch party and like our one friend
Right.
was like gave it like 1 star on Letterboxd. I was like, bro, like now I'm actually kind of nervous. Like what if Travis does not like it? So I'm happy that you did. Although like I feel like if you didn't like it, I guess
I
it would
mean,
make
if
it
I
an
didn't
interesting
like it, there's a lot to
conversation.
talk about. But one of the things, too, for me is as somebody who is a lover of film and wanted to be a filmmaker, but just didn't have the resources available when I was younger to really get into that field. And I just grew up in a place that didn't have a lot of that. And so I never was able to go beyond kind of an enthusiast level of it. But I love filmmaking. And I was super lucky to grow up in the era of being around for VHS and then into early DVD. And when DVDs had all of the behind the scenes and the making of stuff and the stuff, we're getting back to showing some of that. But those are things that I feel like we have missed in the last few years, last 10 years or so of like, I want the background. I want to see how the movies are made, right? That stuff is fascinating to me. I love the art of filmmaking. And this is that type of movie. You mentioned production design, like that set looks great, but those miniatures were perfect. And I did read a thing where Duncan Jones had said that he was given a budget of $5 million to make this, and he planned out the entire movie according to that. And he said, had he been given like a $20 million budget, he would have made a very different movie. And I will say this right now. I am so glad he only got $5 million to make this movie, because I feel like putting that constraint on him for a debut film, but also just as a filmmaker, gave him the opportunity to tell a really compelling story and have to figure out how to do that. And him looking at doing things digitally and then finding out, oh, this is significantly cheaper if we shoot miniatures and then do some augmentation to it. And so they did that. It makes it work. It makes it last better. Because I've seen, other movies from that era, I don't think the effects hold up as well. I think that's one of the things with this is, yes, it's very clearly miniatures, but they did such a good job filming them that I bought in completely to the look of the rovers and the miners and the surface of the moon. I adored every time they would do an establishing shot of the moon from above, and you'd see it.
Yeah.
You would see more trenches dug from the miner. Like, just absolutely loved all of that. Like, the look and feel of this looks so much better than a $5 million film. It really does.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they used every penny of that budget in the movie.
Yeah, which is why I brought it up so early in our conversation, because I think that, yes, I can see why somebody, like, if somebody were to watch this like today and didn't really know too much about it, I can see why they might find it like boring, or maybe it's not like, because they've seen it, they just saw Mickey 17.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of things, right? Also Kevin Spacey's in it. So,
Yeah.
like there's just like a lot of things that maybe might cause somebody to like not like this movie on the surface level. But I think if you actually dive into the filmmaking process, so I'm the opposite of you, because I actually did like pursue the filmmaking career, and I did do the whole Hollywood thing, and I did all of that. And so like being there, being on set, seeing how hard people work, even like movies that I hate, even movies that I think are just god awful and should not have gotten a single dime. I still respect the process of it, and I still admire the fact that there's so there's so many people that come together
Yeah.
for a short period of time, relatively speaking. And literally, there is a reason why it's called movie magic,
Yeah.
because magic happens. And the fact that like these people come together from all walks of life, and they create something that is truly magical, even in the worst films, right? because the fact that they like that they all came together and just decided to like make this one movie
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
is incredible. It's an incredible feat, and I think it's something that should be celebrated. And I think that looking at something like Moon, I think it's important, like context matters.
Mhm.
And I think that looking at it from that angle, from that perspective of, well, this happened before Mickey 17,
Yeah.
right? So this isn't like, this is, and this happened before like Sam Rockwell was really like a household name,
Yeah.
because he was still doing like little parts. He was like a working guy.
Yep.
Like you saw him everywhere, like, hey, that's that guy.
Yeah. He was the definition of a that guy actor where you saw him in something.
Yeah,
He would be in Matchstick Men. He would show up in, Galaxy Quest, whatever it was, and you knew him. But I think you're right. I think
but
this
you didn't
is,
know him.
yeah, I think this is what
Yeah.
got him leading roles. This is what showed other directors, oh, that Sam Rockwell guy can carry a movie.
Right. I think that like diving into the filmmaking process of this film is something that contributes to the experience of watching the film. So I would say like if you're diving into this movie, kind of knowing the context of how it got made, why it got made, because for Duncan, it was very much a love of science fiction
Mhm.
and the movies that he grew up with and the things that inspired him in his storytelling, right? And so it is an homage to those old sci-fi films in his own way,
Yeah.
right? The things that inspired him to become a filmmaker. And so I think like taking all of those things into consideration before watching the movie, I think can really heavily influence the way that you experience Moon.
Oh, for sure. And I love that you have a background in being on sets because I've been on a few sets here and there, and I've worked on some amateur productions and small productions. Actually, funny thing, one of the production company logos at the beginning of this was Xingu Films, Xingu. I worked on a short film here in my hometown that was called Xingu. It was just a 1-day shoot, one location, but that was the name of the film. So that word is burned into my brain. So I saw it and I was like, that's cool. Like that just from a personal standpoint, I thought that was neat to have that parallel
Yeah,
with no connection whatsoever.
it triggered a memory. That's cool.
It did. But I love like filmmaking to me, it is movie magic. And there was a great quote. There's a YouTube channel, Movies with Mikey Newman. And he had a quote, and this has stuck with me ever since I heard it. It was a few years ago now, where he said, getting a movie made, like a finished movie, is like throwing a dart from orbit and you hit a bullseye. And I just thought, that is the simplest representation of everything has to go perfect and everything has to work, and you finished it and got it put out. And that is why, like, I am easy to please. I go into a movie wanting to be entertained, and I'm like you. Even if it's something that I don't like the movie itself, or I don't like the story, or something about it didn't work for me, I still appreciate the craft because there's so much skill and there's so many people that went into it. And you look at a movie like this and you think about set builders and set decorators and people thinking about, okay, somebody's going to watch this and we're going to, make sure that this looks lived in, or the model builders making those models in a way and then filming them. You get a director of photography that understands how to film the model to look, because those rovers look huge and those miners
Yeah.
look massive, and they're probably, a couple feet tall. Like, I love seeing behind the scenes stuff of old Star Wars things from ILM where you see the AT-AT walkers, the AT-ATs, and they're 2 feet tall, but in the movie they just feel massive. And all of that is so much fun for me. So to see the filmmaking that went into this and the early, I don't even want to say early, but like the use of, we're going to shoot this in a practical in-camera way and then touch it up and augment it digitally where we need to just spruce it up a little bit. But the majority of what you're seeing was done in camera on a soundstage, on a miniature set, or on a soundstage. I love all of that. And it just makes me buy into it more. And then you layer on top of that a well-written script with an interesting couple of characters that you then spend a lot of time with and you care about. So by the end of this movie, it was heartbreaking to me that like the older, Sam 1 doesn't go home, but he's sort of like, no, you go, you've got a couple years in you. I'm dying. And the slow deterioration of him and how they did that and the makeup for that too was great, right? With like his teeth slowly falling apart. And it was also rough. When he went, I had a note where he went digging through and pulled the tooth out that he had, I was like, like he just made my skin crawl and I could feel that. And I'm like, no, don't do that.
I also like how it was gracefully done because I feel like that type of thing, it's like borderline. Like it didn't quite cross the threshold into body horror, which I love because like there's a point where like some movies will take that just like a little bit too far, or I'm like, okay, what kind of movie is this? Like guys like it's like I feel like it's like The Fly.
Yeah.
I'm like just picking like fingernails and stuff. I'm like,
Sure.
hold up, wait a minute. Like I'm not prepared for that mentally.
If I go into a movie and I know David Cronenberg directed it, like I'm prepared for that. I know.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like mentally, like I know somebody's fingernail is going to get popped off, but like
something's going to make me get the ick.
But I think like when I'm like the movie's not about that,
Nope.
Like this one specifically. It's not about him decaying. It's just that he happens to be dying throughout the film. And so I really, really love that they didn't make it about that. And that they didn't like somehow make it into like use the shock value of body parts like falling off. Cause I'm like, I don't need, like, I get it. He's rotting. I get it.
Yeah.
Like we don't.
It's that perfect balance of showing us that without going too far with it. Like his, lips are getting more chapped and his skin gets a little more pale and they did makeup to make his eyes a little more sunken, but it never crossed that line.
Yeah. I think like the tooth is like the one thing that was like, okay, this is like, but it was like one tooth.
And it was the
So,
perfect
like,
amount of like, oh yeah, no, that's the driving home of, nope, this guy does not have long for this world.
Yeah, he's out.
He's
not going back.
I also loved, and having seen Sinners last year and how good they did the effect of Michael B. Jordan playing two characters in that movie. And then I look at this and I'm like, this is 2009. This is 15 years earlier. And there are scenes in this that are just, they're flexing. Where they're like, yeah, we got two Sam Rockwells. Yeah, they're going to interact. It's cool. No worries.
Yeah, let's just do a little ping pong.
The ping pong scene was great because it starts off and it's the perfect split screen, right? You've got literally the ping pong net can split your frame. And like that's a classic movie making feature, right? That's a thing you can do. But then they start crossing over.
Yeah.
And interacting with the other side. And I was like, all right, now you're just showing off, Duncan and crew. Like, come on. And that wasn't even the most impressive one. Like there were so many later where they were, going back and forth with the hobby knife and all this kind of, and it was, all of it looked phenomenal. They got a great body double. They did a perfect.
It was very crisp.
It was. And they did the perfect amount of like, we'll have this one facing away so that you don't see his face, but it never felt like they intentionally blocked it in such a way to have one version of him facing away. It was just so well integrated.
Yeah, it didn't seem like they were. It definitely felt like flexing for sure.
Totally. Yeah, no, they're showing off.
But it didn't seem like they were trying hard, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like there's not like it just works. I think it just works. It's like one of those moments where the gimmick works. And And you're right. Like the way that it was done, it it's like as if it was like if they had two like separate characters, like that's how it would have been shot. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's akin to like the first Avatar from James Cameron and its use of 3D and the way that the movie was shot, and it was all shot 3-dimensional, but they didn't do a lot of the gimmicky 3D shots. Like you go back and you watch old 3D stuff, and it's whether it's Friday the 13th 3D or like Beowulf or something, where they do a lot of the gags of like really going at the camera and really showing off, hey, this is 3D. But Avatar was just like, here's a movie, and it also happens to be in 3D. That's what this felt like in a way, where we've got the ability to do these shots and these split screen shots, but you're right, they're blocked and they're framed and they're done in such a way that it could have just been two people. It's similar to how like Fincher did the Winklevoss twins in Social Network, and how well integrated that was. Like it's that level of thing where you just there's two Sam Rockwells on set, and I loved it. I loved so much about the craft of making this movie on top of it's a really compelling story. They managed to like hit all the notes in a way that was really, really satisfying by the end. I was very satisfied with this movie. I think it's a great way for me to put it, because by the end of it, it's more than just, yeah, that was a good movie. Like I saw Supergirl this week. So as I'm recording this, Supergirl came out. I enjoyed Supergirl. It was a lot of fun. Was it the best movie I've seen this year? Not by a long shot, but I enjoyed it. Moon was a movie that I both enjoyed, and it was incredible filmmaking, and it was very well written, and it deserves the praise that it has gotten. It is a movie that honestly exceeded the expectations that were put on it for me when I saw it. So this was a great choice.
It's definitely a lesser known film as well.
It is.
Because every time that I've introduced it to someone, they have no idea what I'm talking about.
It's funny how that can happen, right? And you brought up early on in the episode marketing, and the marketing of this was almost non-existent. Marketing is such an important thing in a movie when it comes to how well it's known to a broad audience, right? Like there are so many movies that get made every year, and so many of them that you just never hear about. And then you go back and you're looking at somebody's IMDb profile and you're like, wow, they were in this. I find that a lot because I love Nicolas Cage. So every August I do on this show all Nicolas Cage for the month of August. And somebody once asked me, are you worried you're going to run out of movies? I'm like, no. Have you seen his filmography? I have so many more to go through that I didn't even know existed. But it's like, this is one of those types of movies where you sandwich this in. I mean, this is 2009. And for Sam Rockwell, he had done like G-Force was the animated one he did before this, or around the same time. Like that was probably marketed a little bit better. But it's like marketing is such a important thing. People don't realize that Sam Rockwell was in a movie based on a Chuck Palahniuk novel called Choke, right? Because that just didn't get marketed. I haven't seen it, so I can't totally speak to it, but like I remember hearing about it. But there's something to marketing of a film. And if you don't market it well, how much that can hurt it. One that I like to mention, and I've done it for this show, was Dark City. Have you seen that?
No.
So Dark City came out about a year before The Matrix. I think it was 1998. And it is directed by Alex Proyas, who had done The Crow. And it is very much a sci-fi film. And it's got a great sort of mixture of sci-fi and film noir. And in fact, a lot of the sets for Dark City got reused in The Matrix, the actual physical sets, because they shot it in Australia. but it is a wonderful movie that did not get marketed well and didn't do well because of that. But anybody that has seen it, especially the director's cut, really enjoy it. And it's one of those kind of cult classic movies, but it just didn't get marketed. So the film industry is such an industry, and it's a weird thing because some of the best movies out there don't get the recognition they deserve. And sometimes a movie will get recognition that it maybe hasn't earned, but it's a property that people know. So it's a weird thing.
Yeah, this looks really interesting.
Dark City is
definitely going to add this to my list.
Yes.
I love Jennifer Connelly.
Oh, Jennifer, if you can do it. So one, you have your movie club. I recommend it for your movie club. Because I think it would be a lot of fun. But watch the director's cut of it.
Okay. There's a director's cut.
There's a director's cut. What it does is, you've seen Blade Runner, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you know how Blade Runner initially had the voiceover, and Ridley Scott eventually did his cut of it, and a lot of people like that better.
Mm-hmm.
Similar idea. The theatrical version of Dark City is very good, but the director's cut pays more attention to the audience, and it doesn't give away a lot of stuff early in the movie that then gets revealed later. It just feels like it's a more deliberate pace. I think if you like Moon, I think the director's cut of Dark City is something you would really dig.
Yeah, this looks cool.
Yeah, Jennifer Connelly. Also, in the director's cut, Jennifer Connelly actually gets to do the singing voice for her character. In the theatrical, they dubbed a different singer over for her in a scene. So that's another reason why I prefer the director's cut, because it just Jennifer Connelly, like that was one of those formative years watching Jennifer Connelly films. Kind of developed a bit of a crush on her.
Yeah, I mean,
how could you not?
Everybody's got a crush on Jennifer Connelly.
Honestly.
Yeah. But like one of the movies that like you referenced Dark City. For me, one of these movies where I feel like there was zero marketing behind it was John Carter.
You know,
so
it's funny because I have not seen John Carter, and I hear from a lot of people that I trust that I should watch.
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Have you read the book?
I haven't, but I know of it. Like I'm familiar with the book.
Okay, so the book is great.
Mm-hmm.
You should read the book as well. The movie is fantastic. It is like so surprising to me how many people, because this should have been like a huge blockbuster movie for Disney. The movie cost like over $300 million to make, which is absurd.
That is what I
like
remember.
Part of the reason why it was a flop.
Yeah.
It made just a little bit north of 200 million. So like it didn't even make its budget back from the box office. And yet the movie is great. The movie is fantastic. I think, Travis, that you might enjoy it. It's a fun movie. It's a fun movie.
It's Taylor Kitsch, right? That's who's in that. And I think
yeah,
I remember
I knew it's Andrew Stanton who
the one, right? I remember hearing that it was Andrew Stanton, who I love. I like Andrew Stanton's movies a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it was Taylor Kitsch, and I was like, he's all right. Like that didn't move the needle for me. But it was just, this is that same era, right? That's 2012. Yeah. So it was in that same kind of couple of years span where I couldn't get out to films as much as I wanted to. And so it had to really grab me. And I knew of the novel, but I didn't have a huge connection to it. But then I hear later on, like exactly what you're saying. I need to see this movie, that I would really like it, that it's the type of thing that I should go and see. And
yeah,
knowing that
nobody heard about it.
Yeah, it's weird.
They literally spent $300 million making the movie, and then they didn't even put like a poster on Sunset Drive. Like literally there's like nothing on this movie.
How is it that like there are movies that have ridiculous advertising campaigns, and a movie like this that they spent that much money to make and they don't spend the money to advertise it? That's nuts to me.
There's just a lot of, I don't know. It's a lot of, you know why? It's because they don't put people like us in charge. That's why, Travis.
That's fair, honestly. I wonder sometimes because you hear these stories of like executives and producers that they're not creatives. And like one of my favorites is was it Kevin Smith tells the story of the producer that, and I cannot remember his name, but he wanted a giant spider in the Superman movie, right? Kevin Smith was going to write Superman Lives, and this producer was like, you got to have a big mechanical spider at the end of it. And that was his thing, to the point where the Kevin Smith story is that he wanted that, and Kevin Smith's like, that's dumb. I'm not going to do that. And he ends up leaving the project, and that guy went on to produce Wild Wild West with Will Smith. And Kevin Smith went and saw that movie, and sure enough, there's a giant mechanical spider at the end of that movie. He's like, well, dude got his spider in the movie. Like, it's that kind of thing. Or finding a movie, how do you spend $250 to $300 million making a movie, number one, but number two, not market the hell out of it? Like, I just don't get it.
I think it's just easier for tax purposes.
Hollywood
to say
accounting.
that you didn't make your movie back. Yeah.
That's why, what was it?
Whoops. I don't know why this $300 million project failed.
Yeah. What was it? Is it Batwoman from Warner Brothers that we're never going to see because they shelved it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
You mean the one that doesn't exist anymore?
That was why I read that what is it? Coyote versus Acme.
Yeah.
They managed to get that out of mothballs, basically.
Yeah.
That's great. But yeah, I hate seeing that because even in my limited knowledge, I know how much work goes into making a movie, which is why, again, I can see something, even something that I do not connect with, like The Room, right? I've seen that. I have seen that movie at a midnight showing where everybody is all into it. It's very Rocky Horror Picture Show. They're doing all of the interaction stuff, and it's still, I'm just like, this is bad. This is not good at all. But I know what goes into making a movie, so I can at least appreciate that part of it.
Yeah. Well, we still don't know where the money went for that movie.
Oh,
I'm sure
it was.
the whole story
Yeah,
where there's like
probably a lot of drugs. Would be
it's
my
like
guess.
7 million. It was like 7 figures to make this movie. And
those are the ones.
It looks like it was made for $700.
Yeah, those are the ones that kill me. Like, I love hearing the stories of like, oh, George Miller making the first Mad Max movie for almost no money, and it turns out great. And it's like, yeah, no, I get it. You know, he's paying people in beer and he's doing all this, and then you hear this movie cost $100 million, and it's like, where did that money go?
How?
It went up someone's
Did they dry
nose.
clean everybody's underwear?
Yeah.
Like what?
Just
how did that happen? Yeah, that's I recently did The Room. I had not had an opportunity to see it. Like I had always wanted to see it, for the culture,
Sure.
right? I had always wanted to see it, but of course I knew that I needed to see it, in a showing with like other people and the whole process and the whole thing. I hadn't had the opportunity to until I think it was last year. Finally got to do it. It was so much fun.
Oh,
man, that movie is so bad.
The experience of watching it in a theater with a bunch of people is so much better than the movie deserves because it is not good.
Our theater, they gave us the plastic spoons to throw at the screen.
Oh, yeah.
But I was also given a tip to bring my own spoons. So I brought my own spoons as well.
Perfect.
So I had extra spoons. So I went spoon crazy. I was spoon maxing. That's what happened. And there were spoons everywhere. And when people were not throwing spoons, I was throwing spoons.
Perfect.
It was great. It was fantastic. But yeah, I the process of the filmmaking is when I look at like a movie like John Carter, and I hope that you see it, and when you do, you can hit me back later and let me know how it went.
I will, absolutely.
But like I see a movie like John Carter, and I can see how they spent a lot of money
Mhm.
on it. It is a big picture movie, and um I think the cast is great. I think it like fits all the characters really well. Like all the actors, Andrew Stanton, like it's just like they had like the right mix of everything. Um, but of course nobody knew about the movie. And what's crazy is like they had the special effects and the costumes, like everything, like the production design was just so spot on that there's no reason that the movie should have failed, except for the fact that nobody knew that it was happening.
Yeah. I mean, there are movies that get a lot of marketing that don't do well that deserve it. Like X-Men Origins Wolverine is one that I go
Mm.
back to. I saw that in the theater. I didn't hate it, but I also totally see its flaws and I understand why it's not liked because there are a lot of problems with that movie. But it there's that, and then you see something like Logan that comes out a few years later that's really well revered, but not a lot of people went to the theater to see it because the bad taste in their mouth of seeing X-Men Origins Wolverine a few years earlier, and that kind of thing can happen. It's so weird. Like audiences are very fickle, and I see that with when I go to my theater here. It feels like a very much a litmus test of because if a movie can pack a theater where I live, it's a big movie, and a lot of people are going to see it, but they hear about it. And that's another thing is I think I have to divorce myself from I'm a film buff. I like movies and I pay attention to what's coming out and I pay attention to what's happening. But your average person, I use like it's the does your mom know about this or your aunt or your uncle type of thing. You find that person that isn't connected, isn't tied into the filmmaking world and what's coming out. Have they heard about this? Because odds are with something like Obsession, they haven't, which is a bummer because if you're a horror fan, you need to see Obsession. That movie, oh, man,
Slaps.
oh boy, that there is so much about that movie that I like. So I am part of a horror movie podcast called Gore, and I cannot wait for us to cover that movie on
You
Gore.
haven't yet?
We haven't yet. Because I don't select what we do, and it's brand new, so we don't do brand new stuff necessarily. But we're going to cover it at some point, and I cannot wait to talk about it because, man, that movie had some stuff going on, like that one. And then I saw Backrooms. Backrooms was another one that I really enjoyed, and it's just we're in a great time for a lot of movies. There is there's slop coming out. There's crap, but that happens every year. But boy, the highs are high right now. There are some really good films happening, and we're starting to get some younger generation filmmakers coming up too. That are, I mean, what was the kid that made Backrooms was like 20, 21?
Yeah.
Crazy. Not only to be that young, but also to like put out a movie that outdoes a lot of veteran, seasoned filmmakers. I love seeing that kind of stuff. But then on the flip side of it, and I haven't seen it yet, but like Disclosure Day. Although Disclosure Day is very polarizing. People either love it or hate it.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of mixed things, which I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it either. But so science fiction is my favorite genre. And I see Spielberg, I see sci-fi, I buy a ticket.
Yeah.
The only reason that I haven't yet is just because I was traveling. I just got back from Asia, like not even a week ago.
Right.
And so like the movie came out during that time. A lot of things happened while I was in Asia, like movie side,
Yeah.
or that I missed out on a lot of things. Like the one theater that like is showing the 4K restoration of Train Spotting. they just had one showing. Of course, I was in freaking, I don't know, Thailand or something. I don't know what I was doing. Dumb. So I missed that.
Oh man.
So I'm just holding out on that. A lot of things happened, but yeah. So this was like one of the things that like I've been looking forward to Disclosure Day, but then at the same time, I'm also like, I there's something about so Disclosure Day. I'm hearing mixed feelings about it. Um, and another thing is it's it looks very clean.
Mm-hmm.
Like the trailer, it just looks very clean.
It looks very
I like
Spielberg.
yeah, I like the look of like the gritty, the kind of like film grain.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you look at like Close
Yep.
Encounters of the Third Kind, it's not clean.
Yeah.
It has that grit. And you know, I mean, you have like Richard Dreyfuss just like losing his mind throughout the whole movie, and I think like that's the kind of sci-fi that I live for. And like the only reason that I'm telling you, like the only reason I'm like into Disclosure Day is number one sci-fi, number two Spielberg.
Mhm.
So we'll see what how I feel. I'm like, man, I'm fully prepared to be disappointed.
Yeah, I'm kind of the mind like I'm gonna go see it. Am I gonna enjoy it? Probably, because it's pretty rare for me to go see a movie and walk out of it like, boy, I hated that. There will be stuff I don't like, but it's so hard for me to hate a film because I just know the kind of work that went into it. So usually for me, it's like, well, that was a little bit disappointing. They needed to fix this. They needed to work on this. But Disclosure Day is one of those. It's like, yeah, it's sci-fi and it's Spielberg, and it feels like a spiritual successor to something like Close Encounters. So, but I'm also going to be able to put it through the lens of, but it's not the young Spielberg making Close Encounters, right? It's like young George Lucas making Star Wars versus George Lucas in the early 2000s making the prequel trilogy, where he's now George Lucas and nobody is telling him no. And he needed that. He needed those constraints. It's what makes Moon work, because Duncan Jones was a young filmmaker. Yes, he's the son of David Bowie, but if nobody told you that, you wouldn't know. But because he's got the constraints of the lower budget and he's a first-time filmmaker, he's got to work within those, and that makes him work harder.
Yeah.
And you see that with young
Also,
filmmakers.
it's unrelated, right?
Yeah.
Because like having a talented musician doesn't mean that you're a good filmmaker.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you know, depending on how you feel about Rob Zombie, you could look at that either way. Although I think
Right.
I like Rob Zombie's music, but I also think that some of his movies are he's got a very cinematic eye.
Yeah.
But like putting those constraints on Duncan Jones early on, it's the difference between Moon and Warcraft for him, right?
Right.
Warcraft, I know, was very divisive, especially for fans of Warcraft, but at the same time, like, he's still a good filmmaker. And I know people that saw that, they were like, I really enjoyed that movie. But it's so different from something like Moon because he's given a bunch of money and he's given a bunch of resources that he maybe didn't have before, and how that can change you. That is where, when I see something like Mickey 17 from Bong Joon-ho, and I look at, you know, I had been a fan of Bong Joon-ho since I saw The Host, because I saw The Host as a midnight film. We used to have a local film festival that ran for about 10 years here. And every year there would be, the midnight movies would be a couple of usually horror-themed films. And they would do the midnight showings of those. And one year it was The Host and Black Sheep, the New Zealand splatter horror movie. Those were the two midnight films, and I fell in love with both of them because they were like two sides of the same coin, and I was like, man, this movie's great, and so that made me want to watch anything Bong Joon-ho did. But you look at what he's done as he's gotten bigger budgets, he's stayed who he is.
Mm.
He's been able to work with those in a way that that I think works better. And that's not to say that like Duncan Jones hasn't done that, because I do. What was his next movie? Was after this was Source Code,
Yes.
which is compelling. I kind of want to see Mute. It doesn't have great
Yeah, I
reviews,
haven't seen
but
that one.
it looks
Yeah.
fascinating.
It looks pretty.
It does. Well, and it's got that cyberpunk thing going on, which like
Yeah.
immediately I'm kind of bought into that.
Yeah. Plus, I think like it being tied to Moon in a way
Mhm.
kind of intrigues me a little bit
Yeah.
to kind of see more about this world. But I didn't see it either. It was just one of those like
I
I
didn't even know it
think I
existed.
just wasn't oh, I remember seeing the trailer for it, and I think like when I saw the trailer, I think it was just like I, I didn't look into it. And so I was just like, "Oh, it's, it looks like." And then I just never gave it a chance.
Yeah.
Um,
But like,
but
I mean, Duncan Jones is one of those where he does some interesting stuff. I love directors. Who's the is it Gareth Evans that did The Creator and a
Mhm.
few other movies? He's one of those directors in sci-fi. If I see his name attached to a sci-fi thing now, I'm like, yeah, I'll check it out, because he did, like, I saw The Creator and I really enjoyed that. I thought that was fascinating. And then you want to talk filmmaking, when I saw a VFX breakdown of the fact that in The Creator they didn't do any mocap suits.
oh,
They literally just filmed everything and then we're like, we'll figure out who's going to be robots and whatnot later. That made
sounds like a lot of work.
it does sound like a lot of work, and it made my brain short circuit, because I'm like, how does that happen? Like, how do you do that? How do you even think to do that? So yeah, like that's kind of where it goes. I did see where Duncan Jones has a movie coming out this year, if it's not out already, called Rogue Trooper,
Oh, really?
based on the 2000 AD comic,
Uh-huh.
which 2000 AD was the British comic that gave us Judge Dredd.
Mhm.
And so Rogue Trooper, based on that, I don't know anything about it beyond the fact that he's directing it, and it looks like it might be animated, but I see casting for it is Jermaine Clement and Sean Bean and Haley Atwell. And I'm in. Like, those are all names I like quite a bit. So very curious to see that.
Sean Bean.
I wonder if Sean Bean's character will live or not. It's 50-50 at this point. Oh, Matt Berry's in it. So he must be he must be friends with Duncan at this point. That feels like one of those.
Yeah, that's a Bill Murray to the Wes Anderson.
Yes. Oh, that's perfect. Well, this has been super fun. I have really, you brought me such a fun movie. Thank you so much for getting me to watch this damn movie. Like,
I'm so happy that you liked it
I
again.
really did.
Because like at first I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely gonna like this because we talked, and I was like, yeah, this is vibes. And then when my friend was like, this movie sucks, I was like, oh shit, like this is not good. I was like, this is a problem.
Oh, that's great. I love
I was like
that
anxious
story.
for like 72 hours.
I love that story. I also love the fact that you got to, like, your rewatch of this was a movie club. Hey, here's a half dozen people we're all going to watch, and like most of them hadn't seen it. I love that. That's a great story. So,
Oh yeah, that made me so excited too.
Yeah.
That was like I like when I got there, I did a little intro. I gave everybody I gave an intro to the movie. I was
perfect.
like explaining everything. We do our thing, all right?
Mhm.
We do our nerd night.
Yeah.
And so I did it, and then I was like, all right, who hasn't seen the movie? Everybody raised their hand except for like, me and the other guy. And I was like, oh yes.
That's
Cool. I've done it.
That's such a good feeling. Oh, I love
You
that.
always want to outdo everybody in the movie club.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like you want to show up and be like, "Oh, you haven't seen that movie?
Mhm. Yeah.
Who's the film buff now?"
Right?
Eh?
Exactly.
Right?
That is such a good feeling. I love it.
I do have one story though.
Yes.
I have a short story.
Oh, please tell.
that is related that I think you'll find is fun. So I did live in Los Angeles for a while, and when we lived out there, my dad was doing Uber. My dad also does like movie stuff as well.
Okay.
And so Uber was a new company that had just come out. And so my dad started to do Uber. And he and I had been a fan of Sam Rockwell for a long time already, since 1999,
Yeah.
Galaxy Quest. And so one day, my dad goes, "You won't believe who I just drove around." Freaking, he sends me a selfie with Sam Rockwell in the back of our
Oh.
car. Travis, he goes, I was like, I talked to him, and he started to, because we're Cuban. He goes, he started to talk to me in Cuban. He goes, one of his best friends is Cuban. And then he just started throwing like Cuban words out there. And I was like, Dad, I was like, did you invite him to dinner?
Right?
He's like, what? I'm like, Dad, Cuban food
Right?
at the house?
Come on.
Hello? No, my guy just got a selfie in his car.
Still, though.
So anyway, now I got a picture of my dad and Sam Rockwell sitting in the. I nearly kissed the seat of the car. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, to instantly make yourself the cool dad, you get a picture with Sam Rockwell. That is a cool story. I love that.
Yeah, and usually my dad, like because he was in Los Angeles, he drove around a lot of like celebrities.
Sure.
And a lot of the time he wouldn't even know who it was because sometimes they use a fake name on their Uber profile. And so you don't know that you're going to get like freaking Marissa Tomei in your car,
Right.
And so he doesn't like my dad's very like professional and he's like, respectful and stuff like that. But he was just like, dude, like my daughter loves you, like we love you, like she's not gonna believe me, like can I get a photo?
I have to prove it. I have to be the cool
I have
dad.
to prove
Yes.
it.
Oh,
So now I gotta pick a selfie of my dad with Sam Rockwell.
That's-
I didn't get to meet him, but
still, that's pretty amazing. I love that. And he should have invited him because, man, Cuban food, I tell you what. You get down on
Are you
that.
kidding me?
He
would have been my number one in my contacts for sure.
I am still, to this day, 20 years later, chasing the dragon of the best Cuban sandwich I ever had. Because
Everybody loves the Cuban sandwiches.
The first time I had one was at a flea market in Orlando, Florida.
Wow.
Just like at a cart in the middle of this like literally dirt floor flea market. And my buddy was like, you got to have one of these sandwiches. And I tried it. And yeah, I have never had a sandwich as good as that.
Oh, I love that. Have you had the coffee?
No, there's nowhere to get the
Ooh.
coffee where I live.
Ooh. Well, if you're ever in Miami, you hit me up. I'm gonna take you to get real Cuban coffee.
I'm down.
I guarantee you'll be fueled for the rest of your trip. All right.
I have heard that.
Number one. Number two, you're never gonna drink coffee anywhere else again.
Perfect.
When you're ready to get addicted, you just hit me up.
All right. I absolutely will. This has been so much fun. Now, you have a lot of content. You said you just got back from Asia. You were doing some traveling. So where can people find what you're working on and what you're doing in terms of like travel? And because I know you do some travel logs and things like that, right?
Yeah. So I'm pretty easy to find. I'm Redromina everywhere.
Mhm.
Red like the red hour. You can find me on YouTube. I do live streaming a lot on there as well. And Instagram, all the places. Redromina, my website too is redromina.com.
Excellent. It's always good to have like a nice, simple URL like that you can give out. Redromina.com is perfect. So,
yeah,
and
I low key have OCD. So.
You and me both. Absolutely. Well, this has been a ton of fun. And if you're listening to this and you enjoy this conversation, I do this every week. I like to say that I have a problem. I've been doing this since March of 2019. I have missed 1 week in that time. I can't stop, but I enjoy doing it. I live stream every week, twitch.tv/TV's Travis. If you want to catch it live, it comes out as a podcast every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts, any podcast player, including YouTube. And I just enjoy talking about movies. So if you do like this, give it a follow, give it a rating and review. That helps me a lot. And also, honestly, if you can, I have a Patreon, patreon.com/WYHS. Wait, you haven't seen. And that helps the show financially let me do things like a few weeks ago, I was in Salt Lake City for Nerdtacular 2026. I did a live episode there. I'll be in Atlanta, Georgia in about a month and a half, 2 months for Dragon Con, where I'm doing a live episode. Patrons help me to do those kinds of things. So if you can follow the show, patreon.com, and you also get some exclusive patron-only things like my upcoming review of Spider Noir. I'm going to finish that series up and talk about it because, look, it's Nick Cage and it's Spider-Man. How do I not watch that? I loved it. So definitely check that out. But Romina, thank you so much for being here. This has been a ton of fun. And we'll have to do this again.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So until next time, and whatever movie I'm going to be doing, which I need to schedule. I haven't figured that out yet, but it's July 4th weekend, so we'll see what happens. Just remember to enjoy your movies, everybody, and let's be excellent to each other. All right, this has been Wait You Haven't Seen.
Don't get your fucking panties in a twist. I'm in the same boat, asshole.
I will never not love the phrase, don't get your panties in a twist.